Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Marvel Champions video. Yesterday we looked at Spectrum's deck from the upcoming Mad Titan Shadow campaign expansion. Today we're going to be looking at Adam Warlock. It looks like the Mad Titan Shadow may be delayed, at least on the pre-order page for the Mad Titan Shadow. It's now listed as September 30th. I think it was supposed to come out at the end of August, like in a week or so, but it looks like it's been pushed back to September. Nebula's date doesn't look like it's changed, so maybe in September we'll be getting two packs. We'll be getting Nebula and the Mad Titan Shadow. We'll have to wait and see. There were rumors that the Mad Titan Shadow was going to get delayed, and it looks like that might be the case. Anyway, we're going to start off with Adam Warlock. We're going to look through all the Adam Warlock cards here. So first up, we have the Adam Warlock Alter Ego card. So 3 recovery, hand size of 6 with 11 hit points. He's a Mystic. And it has the Avatar of Life. It says during deck building, your deck must include an equal number of cards from all 4 aspects. You cannot include more than 1 copy of any non-Adam Warlock card. And as an action, you can discard a card from your hand to remove a status card from Adam Warlock. So if you get stunned or confused, I really like that you can just discard a card to get rid of that status. So that's Adam Warlock's Alter Ego. Into his hero form, we have Adam Warlock. 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. He's a Guardian and a Mystic, and has the Battle Mage action. So discard 1 card from your hand, limit once per phase. If that card is an aggression card, deal 2 damage to an enemy. If it's Justice, remove 2 threat from a scheme. If it's Protection, heal 1 damage from an ally. If it's Leadership, give a hero +1 attack, +1 thwart, +1 attack, +1 defense this round. So that's pretty big, because depending on like what's in your hand and what you need to happen, you can discard a card to either do damage, remove threat, heal, or give something a buff as well. So that's Adam Warlock on hero side. Hand size goes down to 5. He's got 11 hit points. Next up we have Pip the Troll. 2 cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack with 2 hit points. It generates a wild resource if you discard him. It's a Mystic, comes in with a toughness status. And while Pip the Troll is in your hand, he gains interrupt when a player is attacked. Spend an energy resource and a mental resource to put Pip the Troll into play under that player's control. So I really like that you can basically just flash him in, and he can come in and potentially like block an attack. It's perfect for that because he has toughness, so he'll be able to block the attack without taking damage. And then I imagine that player then controls Pip the Troll. But that's Pip the Troll. Next card here, we have Soul World. It's a 1 cost support. It's a location as a response after your deck runs out of cards. Place 1 soul counter here. It's an alter ego action, exhaust Soul World, and remove 1 soul counter from it to heal all damage from your identity. So, usually the deck runs out, you get an encounter card. Happens here, you put a counter on here, and then you can use that counter to basically heal all your damage. That's pretty good. Pretty good way to heal, especially if you're really low on health. We basically get to almost maybe potentially starting the game over. If you're at like 1 health, you can heal all the way up to his max of 11. So that's Soul World. Next card here, we have the KARMIC Staff. It's a 2 cost upgrade. It's an artifact and an item. It's a resource generator. So as a resource, you can exhaust it to generate a wild resource. It also generates an energy resource if you discard it. After that, we have the Warlock's Cape. 2 cost upgrade. It's an item. Generates a physical resource if you discard it. Hero response, after you resolve Adam Warlock's Battle Mage ability, exhaust the cape to ready Adam Warlock. So that's pretty good. It lets him ready himself. And it also, again, generates a physical resource if you discard it. So that's the cape. Next up, we have Cosmic Ward. 1 cost upgrade. Generates an energy resource if you discard it. It's a spell. And as a force interrupt, when you reveal a treachery card, cancel its when revealed effects and discard it, then discard Cosmic Ward. So basically lets you prevent a treachery from coming off when it's a when revealed effect. So that's pretty good. We have, looks like 2 copies of that. Next up, we have Mystic Senses, 2 cost upgrade. It's a condition and a superpower. Generates an mental resource if you discard it. He's a Mystic, so I'm kind of getting a little confused there. But anyway, hero response, after you resolve Adam Warlock's Battle Mage ability, draw a card. So you basically discard a card with his ability, and this allows you to draw a card off of that. So that's Mystic Sense. We have a couple copies of that. Next up is the Karmic Blast, 2 cost event. Generates a physical resource if you discard it. As a hero action, as an attack, deal 4 damage to an enemy and discard up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Deal 1 additional damage to that enemy for each different aspect discarded this way: aggression, justice, leadership, and protection. So if you have all 4 aspects on top of your deck, it's going to be an additional 4 damage. So two resources for 4 damage is pretty good, and you're gonna get at least potentially one more damage off of it, depending on what's in your deck and where it is. So that is the Karmic Blast. We're gonna move into our next card. Another Karmic Blast and 3 of those. Next up, we have the Cosmic Awareness. It's a 2-cost event. It's a thwart and a superpower. As a hero action, thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme and discard up to 4 cards on top of your deck. Remove 1 additional threat from that scheme for each different aspect card discarded this way. Again, aggression, justice, leadership, and protection. So just like the other card, this will remove at least, potentially, I'm going to say at least 4, depending on what's on your deck. But you remove 3, and then you can potentially remove up to 7 threat from a scheme, depending on what's on your deck, and if you have 1 of each aspect on the top. So you're going to get some extra thwart with that one, some extra damage with the other one too. So that's Cosmic Awareness. We have a couple copies of that. And then we have Quantum Magic. It's a 1-cost event. It's a spell. As an action, choose a card in your discard pile. Add that card to your hand. So 1-cost event to get a card back. It's pretty good. Generates an energy resource if you discard it. And lastly, in this first set, or it looks like those, just a couple copies of that. And those are going to be the final cards from his base set. We're going to move into the rest of his cards in just a moment, and we'll be right back with those. Alright, and we are now back with the other half of the Adam Warlock deck. There's quite a few other cards in this half, just because with his ability, with the aspects, you're only allowed to include one of any one particular card from each of the aspects. So there's quite a lot of cards in this deck, because he's basically allowed just a one of on any of the cards that are different aspects. So anyway, first up we have the Obligation here. This is the regeneration cycle. Has 2 boost icons on it, and give it to the Adam Warlock player. You may flip to alter ego form and then choose to either exhaust your alter ego and remove the obligation from the game, or discard the top 5 cards of your deck. Place 1 threat on the main scheme for each different aspect card discarded this way, and then discard this obligation. So you're going to be losing 5 cards and then potentially placing additional threat on the scheme based on which aspect cards get discarded. So that could add up to quite a few extra threat. It looks like you're discarding 5 cards, but the most extra threat you're going to get is 4, because there's only 4 different aspects, and if they're all stacked on top of your deck in just it goes aggression, protection, leadership, justice. If you discard it that way, that's going to be 4 additional scheme, or 4 additional threat, I should say. That probably won't happen, but the most you're going to get off of it for doing that is you're going to be losing 5 cards into your discard pile, and then taking potentially up to 4 additional threat off of the scheme. So that's Regeneration Cycle. To our next card, we have the Magus. It's his Nemesis minion. Comes in with 5 hit points, 2 boost icons as well, 2 scheme, 2 attack. He's elite and the Mystic. He has Quick Strike and Toughness, and is a force response. After the Magus activates against you, discard the top 5 cards of your deck. So you're going to want to get rid of him fairly quickly, because whenever he activates, he's going to be forcing you to discard 5 cards, which is quite a good amount of cards. Luckily, you don't take additional damage based on what aspects you discard, but losing 5 cards is also not good. So that is, again, you want to take care of him pretty quickly. And he's going to be tough to take care of, because he has toughness, so you're going to have to like ping that toughness status off before you can actually start doing damage to him. So that's the Magus. Into our next card, we have Universal Church of Truth. It's a side scheme. Comes in with 2 threat per player. As a force response, after a player resets their deck, exhaust that player's identity, and then stun it. And it also has an acceleration token. And when if it gets revealed as part of a boost, it gets revealed and comes into play. So as soon as you run through your deck, you're going to basically have to exhaust your identity and then stun it as well. And then it has, again, a acceleration token. It comes in with 2 threat per player, and it also boosts its way into play as well. So that's the Universal Church of Truth. Into our next card, we have the Zealot of Truth. It's a minion. I think there's a couple of these in the deck. So Zealot of Truth minion, 4 health, 1 scheme, 2 attack. It's a mystic, and threat cannot be removed from the Universal Church Yeah, the Universal Church of Truth side scheme. So I guess until you get rid of these things, you can't get rid of threat on that side scheme. And if it boosts, it is put Zealot of Truth into play engaged with you. So has a boost, and then when it's out, you can't remove threat from that particular side scheme. And then one scheme to attack with 4 health. We have a couple of those. Next up, we have the Cosmic Inquisition. It's a treachery. Comes in with 2 boost icons. Insight 2, which I think Insight is, it adds threat to the main scheme. So it looks like it adds 2 threat to the main scheme. And when revealed, if the Universal Church of Truth side scheme is in play, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. Otherwise, search the encounter deck, discard pile, and set aside area for the Universal Church of Truth. Reveal it, shuffle the encounter deck. So if that side scheme is in play, you discard 10 cards. If it's not, you basically have to put it into play. So that is pretty rough. Obviously, it's probably better to have it out of play, because then you're not discarding 10 cards, but then you have that other side scheme still to deal with. But having 10 cards that are getting discarded is pretty huge. So that's the Cosmic Inquisition. Into our next card, we have Marvel Boy. It's an ally, so 2-cost ally. Let's see, 0 threat or 0 thwart, 2 attack with 1 consequential damage each. 2 hit points. He's a Guardian and a Kree. And as an interrupt, when Marvel Boy attacks, spend a physical resource. This attack gains piercing and ranged. So he attacks. If you have a physical resource, you can spend it to give it piercing, which gets rid of toughness status. And it also has ranged, which gets around retaliate. And then if you discard him, he generates a physical resource. All right, next card. We have In-Betweener. It's an event, 2 cost. It's an aggression event. So we're going to see events and allies and cards in Adam Warlock's deck from each aspect. So it looks like we're on the aggression ones right now. So 2 cost. It's a cosmic entity. As an action, shuffle this card into the encounter deck without looking. And when revealed, deal 2 damage to the villain and remove this card from the game. This effect cannot be canceled. So this goes into the goes into the encounter deck. However, I wonder if the back of this card is probably still blue, so you're gonna know where it is, depending on when it shows up. But I guess once it shows up, it comes in, does 2 damage, then gets removed from the game. It can't be canceled. It also generates a mental resource if you discard it. So that's In-Betweener. Next card here. Another aggression card is a magic attack, 1 cost event. It's an attack and a spell. Generates a physical resource if you discard it. Play only if your identity has the mystic trait, max 1 per deck. Hero action, attack, choose an enemy, and discard up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Deal 1 damage to that enemy for each card and discard it this way. So let's see, attack, so you choose an enemy, discard up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, and deal 1 damage to each discarded card. So depending on how much damage you need to do, or if you want to just ping a minion, you can basically pay 1, discard a card and deal the 1 damage to like a 1 health minion. Or if you could do up to 5 damage, you discard 5 cards and then do 5 damage. Pretty flexible, so 1 resource, and then you can discard up to 5 cards. So like I said, depending on how much health you need to get rid of, you could either do a little or a lot. You can do like 1 or 5 or in between. So that is the magic attack. Into our next card, we have Uppercut. We've seen this one before, but 3 cost event. It's an attack, hero action, attack, deal 5 damage to an enemy. Pretty straightforward. Generates a physical resource if you discard it. Next up, we have Combat Training, 2 cost upgrade. We've seen this one before as well. It's a skill, generates a physical resource if you discard it. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. Your hero gets +1 attack. So pretty basic there, but pretty good. Next up, we have Audacity. It's a resource. Looks like it generates a wild resource, max 1 per deck. Hero response, after you spend this card, deal 1 damage to the villain. So you spend it for a wild resource and then deal 1 damage as well. So that is Audacity. Next card, it looks like we're into the Justice cards now. We have Quasar. It's an ally, 3 costs, with 3 hit points, 1 thwart, 2 attack, with 1 consequential damage for each. Aerial and Guardian. And as a response, after Quasar enters play, remove 1 threat from each scheme in play. So basically comes in, removes 1 from each, and then it can do, has 3 hit points. You can do 3 thwarts, 3 attacks. You can kind of combine them a little bit. And then I definitely like the ability to remove one threat from each scheme. That's pretty good. So that's Quasar. Into our next card, we have Living Tribunal. It's a 2-cost event. It's a cosmic entity. Generates a mental resource if you discard it. It's an action. Shuffle this card into the encounter deck without looking. And when revealed, remove 2 threat from the main scheme and remove this card from the game. This effect cannot be canceled. So this one removes threat. The red one for aggression does damage. This removes threat. I like that. I like that Adam Warlock has cards that he can basically sneak into the villain deck, and then when they come up, they do stuff. So one thing I really like about that is I imagine if a villain is boosting like an attack or a scheme, that if this is in the deck, it comes in, and then they don't get to add an additional card. So let's say they're attacking for 2, like they have an attack at 2, they go to boost, they grab this, their attack just does 2. There's no additional damage from it from the boost card, and then this boost card comes in and removes 2 threat. So that's pretty good. So that's Living Tribunal. Into our next card, we have For Justice. It's a 2-cost event. It's a thwart. Generates an energy resource if you discard it. And it's a hero action. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. 4 instead if you pay for this using a mental resource. So it comes in for 2 resources and removes either 3 or 4 threat depending on how it was paid for. So that is For Justice. We're going to move into our next card. We have the Zone of Silence. It's a 1-cost event. It's a spell and the thwart. Generates mental resource if you discard it, and play only if your identity has the mystic trait. This is max 1 per deck. Hero action thwart. Choose a scheme and discard up to 4 cards on the top of your deck. Remove 1 threat from that scheme for each card discarded. So basically it's the thwart version of the red card we looked at earlier, where you get to discard up to 4 cards to remove up to 4 threats. So you can remove as little as 1 or up to 4. So I like that it's flexible just like the other one. So that is the Zone of Silence. Into our next card here, we have Heroic Intuition. It's a 2-cost upgrade. It's a skill. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. Your hero gets +1 thwart. Also generates an energy resource if you discard it. All right, next up, we have, this is Determination. It's a resource, max 1 per deck. Hero resource. After you spend this resource, remove 1 threat from the main scheme. So we had one that did damage. This one removes threat, and it also generates the same resource the other one did, which is a wild resource. So that is Determination. Into our next card. Into the leadership cards, we have Major Victory. This is a 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack for 1 consequential damage each. Comes in with 2 hit points and is an interrupt. When Major Victory is defeated, choose a friendly guardian character and then ready that character. So it comes in, he could do, let's say, 2 remove, do 2 attacks, 2 thwarts, and then it basically allows you to ready a guardian character. So comes in, basically does this thing, and then kind of like is, once he's defeated, he's able to help out another guardian. So that's Major Victory. Into our next card, we have Eternity. It's a 2-cost event. It's a cosmic entity. Shuffle this card into the encounter deck without looking, and when it gets revealed, draw 1 card and remove this card from the game. This effect cannot be canceled. I like, again, another card that Adam Warlock can slip into, or I guess anybody that's playing, because it's not specific to Adam Warlock's deck, but it is in his probably, I think, the kind of default deck. But slip it into the villain deck, and when it gets revealed, you get to draw a card. That's pretty good. And then again, I like that it also, I think, messes with the opponent, with the villains boosting, because they're going to be boosting this card off, and then not getting their boost icons for whatever they're doing, and then you get the card, the effect, in this one, in this case, draws you a card. So that's Eternity. Next card, we have Summoning Spell. It's a 2-cost event. It's a spell, generates a mental resource if you discard it. Play only if your identity has the mystic trait. It's max 1 per deck. It's a hero action. Discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard an ally. Put that ally into play under your control. So I like that because if you know where a certain ally is, or if you have like a really expensive ally, you can pay 2 and then discard cards on the top of the deck until you get an ally, and then put that ally into play without put it into play without having to pay its cost. So if you have an expensive ally and you know it's kind of like close to the top, you can do that basically get an expensive ally out for 2 resources. So that is Summoning Spell. Next card here, we have Make the Call. See this one before, but it's a very good card. So 0-cost event. I use this card in the old kind of leadership Iron Man deck I had for a while, where It's 0. Pay the printed cost of an ally in any player's discard pile. Put that ally into play under your control. It's really good for getting characters like Maria Hill back and stuff like that. So that's Make the Call. It's been around since the beginning of the game, but a very good card. So next card, we have Inspired. It's a 1-cost upgrade. It's condition. Generates a physical resource if you discard it. Attached to an ally, max 1 per ally. The ally gets +1 thwart, +1 attack. So pretty good there. Next up, we have Innovation. It's a resource, max 1 per deck. Hero response: after you spend this card, heal 1 damage from your ally, or from an ally you control, and then generates a wild resource. So that is Innovation. Next card here, we have Charlie 27. It's a 4-cost ally. Looks like we're into the protection cards now. 4-cost ally for 4 health, 1 thwart, 1 attack with 1 consequential damage each. Has Retaliate 1. And after the character is attacked, deal 1 damage to the attacking character. It comes in with toughness as well. So that's pretty good. That's Charlie 27. Next up, we have the Gardener. It's a 2-cost event. It's another cosmic entity. Shuffle this card into the encounter deck without looking, and then when revealed, heal 2 damage from your identity. Remove this card from the game. The effect cannot be canceled. So looks like each aspect has one of these kind of slip into the encounter deck cards, which are it's a pretty cool concept. So that is the Gardener. Next card here, we have Shield Spell. It's a 0-cost event. It's defense and a spell. Max or play only if your identity has the mystic trait. Max 1 per deck. It's a hero interrupt. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, discard that many cards on the top of your deck. Prevent all the damage from this attack. So you're being attacked for 4. You can discard 4 cards from the top of your deck and prevent 4 damage. So that's Shield Spell. It's pretty good. Next card here, we have Counterpunch. It's a 0-cost event. It's been in the game for, I think, since the beginning of the game, but maybe not the beginning of the game, but pretty close to it. I think it's in the core set, though. 0-cost event. It's an attack as a response. After your hero defends against an enemy attack, deal damage to that enemy equal to your hero's attack. And then generates a physical resource if you discard it. All right, next up, we have the Armored Vest. It's been in the game, I think, since the beginning of the game, but a 1-cost upgrade. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. Hero gets +1 defense. Pretty straightforward, but pretty good. After that, we have Preservation. It's a resource, max 1 per deck. Hero response: after you spend this card, heal 1 damage from your hero. So basically, each aspect has an energy resource card in this deck as well. And then again, just like all the other ones, generates a wild resource. And final card for this deck, I believe, is Martinex, which is a 3-cost ally. Comes in with 4 hit points. Generates an energy resource if you discard it. 1 thwart, 1 attack with 1 consequential damage each. He's a guardian. And reduce the cost to play Martinex by 1 if your identity has the guardian trait. So you can get if you have the guardian trait, you can get him out for 2. So a 2-cost ally with 4 health. It's pretty good. So that's going to do it for this video. This is all the cards from the Adam Warlock deck. Some very interesting things going on. I especially like him being able to include cards from all 4 aspects and being able to do interesting things with those cards. And then all the cards that you can sneak into the encounter deck are also really interesting. So that's, again, all the cards from the Adam Warlock deck. We'll be covering more cards from the Mad Titan Shadow expansion in future videos. Like I said earlier, I believe the set has possibly been delayed until the end of September. At least the Asmodee Fantasy Flight web page, store page is saying September 30th now. But again, that's going to do it for this video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching, and take care.